Some people live for the fortune. Hello, we're live. Some people live just for the fame. Hello. Some people live for the power. Hello, and welcome to Mental Health Monday. I am Dr. Terrell, your board-certified family physician, speaker, author, and coach. I help medical professionals reach for freedom, financial flexibility, and I do that through my coaching programs and through my upcoming book, which I'm very excited about. So you can reach me on all social media on all social media platforms, at Dr. Terrellon. That's DrTerralon. And I'm so excited today because I have two phenomenal women with me, two phenomenal doctors with me, who are here to share their knowledge and their expertise to help us just stay sane through this pandemic. But without further ado, let me introduce you to Doctors Brandy and Dr. Yasmin Bradshaw. So welcome, ladies.
Hello.
So let me give our viewers a little bit more information about you because they have to know just how dynamic you are. So I'll start with Dr. Brandy. Dr. Brandy is triple board certified. Did you guys hear me? Triple board certified. That means three. She's three types of doctor. She's triple board certified in pediatrics, child psychiatry, and adult psychiatry. She's a graduate of Vanderbilt University and also Meharry Medical College. She is chief medical director of Bowling Medical Group, and she is a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and she is a native and resides in Birmingham, Alabama. So welcome, Dr. Brandy, and I'll let you give your own hello to our viewers.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Terrellon, for having me on the show. I am elated to be here. There's so much greatness that happens on your show, and I am glad to be a part of it. As she said, I am Dr. Brandy B., your triple board certified child and adolescent psychiatrist. Through my Facebook live streams, my upcoming book, like Dr. Terrellon, I'm very excited about that. Appearing on shows such as these and just talking to people wherever I can go. I have worried, overworked, and overwhelmed moms of children with ADHD and any other mental health disorder. Bring awareness to them so that they can get the clarity and the education that they need so that they can help the loved one in their life be successful in the classroom and in life. You can find me on all social media at Dr. Brandy B. That's DrBrandib. I am live every Friday on Facebook at 12 noon Central Standard Time for Focus on Friday. We have a lot of fun. Love to have you there. Thank you again, Dr. Terrellon.
Thank you, Dr. Brandy. And that is Dr. Brandy B. There are other Dr. Brandys, but there is no other Dr. Brandy B. Just let me tell you. Now we're moving on to Dr. Yaz, and I love speaking with Dr. Yaz. I've actually consulted her myself, and I've also attended one of her presentations. So I love hearing Dr. Yaz speak. So you guys are also in for a treat. Dr. Yasmin Bradshaw was born in South Georgia, so we're all three of us are Southern Belles. Yay! She now resides in Brandywine, Maryland. She is CEO of Atlas Consulting Group. She is a master life coach and marriage and family therapist. She is a graduate of Valdosta State University in Valdosta, Georgia. She has her PhD in psychology, and she's a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Welcome, Dr. Yasmin. Dr. Yaz for short.
Dr. Yaz. Thank you so much, Terrellon, for inviting me to your platform. It's always a pleasure just to listen in the great information that you always provide, and it's always a current topic that's needed. Just to reiterate what you said about me, I am the CEO of Atlas Consulting Group. And we provide facilitation, training, and organizational development and leadership. I'm also a trained marriage and family therapist. I have provided individual counseling, family, and couples counseling. Currently, I am a life coach, a master life coach. Women coach with me when they're ready to use their voice in their lives and in their career. I boldly give them confidence to break mental barriers that's keeping them average when really amazing is their birthright. So I also provide relationship coaching for couples, and you can find me on Psychology Today. You can find me on Facebook at Dr. Yaz Bradshaw, and also on Instagram at I am Doctor. That's IAMDR at Dr. Yaz. Instagram at IAM.
Sorry about that. You might hear an echo. I was just checking for questions. So sorry about that.
No problem. And thanks again for having me.
All right. So can you take care of this for me? I'm sorry about that. I'm still working out our technical difficulties. Sorry about that, ladies.
It is okay.
So I got it. All right. So our first question. Still can't quiet it. Okay. All right. So our first question oh my gosh. It's like robots are taking over. So our first question for you ladies, certainly COVID has brought mental health to the forefront. And I've often heard and read that, COVID-19 is, we're in a global pandemic with COVID-19, but mental health is our second pandemic. What are your tips for staying healthy and sane during this time? What do you advise our viewers? And I'll start with you, Dr. Brandy B.
Yes. That's a very important topic, staying sane through it all. And I remember being a psychiatrist, predominantly child and adolescent psychiatrist, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, I kind of felt this survivor guilt, if you will, where I felt like I'm a physician, but I'm not on the front line. I don't know what to do with this. And then I heard one of my colleagues say to me, don't worry, we're going to get ours on the back end. And it's so very true, because people immediately stopped coming to the doctor for anything that was not related to COVID or thought to be COVID. And they kind of let all of their medical conditions slide to the wayside. And they did the same with their mental health. And so now we're seeing some of the fallout in that in both children and adults alike. I came up with an acronym very early on because I love acronyms. That was how I got through all of my boards. One of my favorite ones for this time of coronavirus and how to get through it is RONA, RONA. The R is for rewind. Make sure that you're doing some of the things that you like to do before, whether it be hanging out with your family, watching trash TV, going on a long walk. And even if you never have done those things before, it's a good time to start to do some of those things. So rewinding to life before the pandemic, even though we're in the middle of a pandemic. I'm not saying go hang out and have a barbecue with friends, but it's okay to do some things that are very close to the things that you used to enjoy. That's the R in RONA. The O is to be open. If you are finding that you are not handling things well, this is not the time to hold it in and keep it to yourself. Be open with someone. And somebody said, is therapy good for everybody? And I say, absolutely it is. Therapy is what you do when you call up your spouse or your girlfriend or your guy friend and you say, girl, let me tell you, you're about to engage in a therapy session right there. You just don't know what you're going to get back. And so during this time, we need to be open to say, girl, I think I need help more than what you're giving me. And so we have to do that to our family and friends. The N is for necessities. Make sure you're taking care of your necessities. Bathing, eating well, exercising, turning off the TV. That is a necessity, right? Hanging out with friends, staying connected on Zoom and forums like we're on, platforms like we're on today. And then the A would be affirmations. Those I am positive statements. I am enough. I am good. I will make it out of this. I am mentally healthy. I am a survivor, or whatever the case may be. Having something that you can fall on, that you can recite every morning, those are amazing. And then the other A, because I'm an ADHD expert, would be please treat that baby's ADHD and treat yours too. I know we're in the middle of a pandemic, but they're still going to school even if they're at home with you. So make it light on you, make it light on yourself, and treat the ADHD. I think that's oversimplified, but it's a nice way to kind of summarize everything that I typically recommend for folks who are just losing their way and losing themselves in the middle of this pandemic.
Thank you, Dr. Brandy B. Dr. Yaz, do you have anything to add to that?
You know, you were very thorough. I must say, I like that Rona acronym. I was like, is she going to leave me any talking points for this?
There's always room to expound, girl. I just said it for you. Now take it away.
That's right. That's right. So, one thing that you touched on was some of the mindfulness techniques that, we talk about with the journaling and the self-affirmations, but also meditation. And another thing that you touched on was exercise. And a lot of times when I'm coaching with my clients, I push the exercising because, of course, we know that it produces those endorphins that, improves the mood. And then if they can do it at the start of your day. A lot of times we want to exercise at the end of the day, but we want to start off our day positive. So if we can get that exercising in the AM, it kind of sets the tone for our day. Another thing I say is take breaks. Take frequent breaks. We're sharing in my household, I have 3 girls. We're sharing a workspace per se. And so sometimes you just got to take those mental breaks, step away from the computer. And then you also touched on being as normal as you can be, like we were before, the pandemic. So if you can't do normal things like going outside, yes, we can't congregate in the, numbers that we used to, but we still can go walking. Right now, Zoom is our best friend. We're missing family members, but it does not mean that we can't stay in touch. And the last thing that I wanted to touch on in my own household, I'm making sure that I'm filtering how much information comes into my house, because that creates anxiety because you're hearing all these different narratives. What do I believe? The kids are hearing, are we going to die? Are we going to be okay? So learning to filter how much information as it relates to the pandemic that comes into your home.
You all made some excellent points, and that leads me into a segue. But before I move on to the next question, I definitely want to say hello to some of our viewers. And Dr. Carol, we want to say hello to you. You even posted some of, an excellent point. Protecting our mental health is more important now than ever. Thank you for your pearls of wisdom. Dr. Carol is a wonderful doctor that she is very much, I know she loves this, is definitely supporting this conversation, and she has taught us some meditation techniques. So I thank you, Dr. Carol, for chiming in. I want to say hello to my cousin Carol Cannon has chimed in, my cousins Alicia and Kimberly, and my husband Marshall, and Delisa is on. So thank you. We have lots of support, and those are just the people that I can see right now. So we appreciate your support. And please, if you have points that you want to share, if you have questions, we love the conversation and we love the engagement. We need to talk more about this, because the more we talk about it, then the more the stigma goes away. Now, Dr. Yaz, I love that point that you made about filtering what goes on in your household with your children. How should we be talking to our children, or what tips do you have for our audience? Because we know that this has especially affected our children in many different ways. And we know that we're preparing them to go back to school, but until that time, how do we talk to them about COVID-19 and the coronavirus? And what tips do you have?
So I think the first thing is we have to listen to their narrative first. What do they know? What have they heard? Because a lot of times we want to give them the information that we know, because, we become experts, right? Because we're the filter. But honestly, we want to find out what is their own narrative of what they're saying. And then My second thing for my house, I do have an open door policy. Sometimes their little mind is spending 100 miles per hour. So having that open door policy, but also making sure that your conversation is developmentally appropriate. Like sometimes the conversation that I will have with my teenage daughter is not the same conversation as it relates to the pandemic that I will have with my youngest child. So it has to be, and it's not an age things, because sometimes some children are more mature at certain ages than others. So you just have to know your child and where they are, developmentally, and be honest. If they ask a question, you have to be honest about the information. And then lastly, focus when you communicate. We're in a pandemic, but if we can focus on how we're keeping the family safe and the things that we're doing as it relates to safety, it sometimes decreases that anxiety that it produces. So those are my tips.
Thank you, Dr. Yaz. And Dr. Brandy B, what do you have to add? Because I know you're especially seeing kids, and you're seeing them through a telemedicine environment. So share your thoughts on how you're advising your patients.
One thing that I'm comforted in knowing is that no matter the region, no matter the specialty, no matter the approach, everybody in mental health is saying the same thing. So Dr. Dr. Yaz is in a different part of the country, working with different clients, but we're saying the same thing. Meet your kids where they are. I have 3 children who are all under 6, very smart kids. I tried to turn on Sesame Street's talk about the pandemic and racial injustice, which is a completely different uh, problem that we're dealing with now, a pandemic, if you will, all of its own. And they weren't interested. And you know what? I didn't make them. But I think everything that Dr. Gaz has said, be honest, be open. You've got to listen. And I think that we need to let them lead the conversation. You may throw something out there as a filter, but see what they give you back. And if they give you nothing and they're 6, just let it go. Let them keep playing with whatever it is. But if you notice that what you're seeing and hearing is not matching what they're saying, then you need to probably bring them aside and say, I know that you said it's okay, but I've noticed this as well. Let's talk about it. Just ask a question. How is it with you not being able to get together with your friends? How is it with you having to not play sports? How is it that you're a senior and you may not get a graduation like the kids did last year? All too often, if I ask a question of a child, parents will immediately say, they never told me that. The first thing I say is, have you ever asked them or given them the opportunity to tell you? So we must ask the question, and we also must be there to listen. Listening is so much more important than talking at times. But if we're always talking or on our phones or doing whatever else, we'll miss these golden opportunities.
Thank you both. And while we're talking about, actually, let me shift to our bigger kids, our adults, because they're your clients and your kids. Your patients too. I recently read in the New York Times that there's a new term, and I feel like the pandemic has brought not just new medications, new ways of treatment, but even new terms. There's something called coronaphobia. And I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's the idea that people are so afraid of getting coronavirus or they are so engulfed with or overwhelmed with the information that it has kept them from doing the things that they would normally do. And then you have people at the opposite end of the spectrum who have just, I guess they are just tired of the pandemic, and so they have dismissed all of the they have dismissed all of the recommendations. And so, what are you seeing? What are you advising as far as I guess staying in the middle or continuing, because we are certainly, until we can get back to at least a newer normal.
Um, going back to Rona, rewind, open, and say, I'm over it. Make sure you're taking care of your necessities, having your affirmations. But I would also add that just because we're over it doesn't mean that it's over. And so we still have to make sure that we are following the recommendations that have been set forth for us as those that are going to keep us safe, right? The vaccine is available. And I know that you talked with it with some colleagues about that. But the vaccine is available. Your mask, if you choose to not vaccinate, staying your distance, washing your hands. These are basic things that you still need to do. Um, the other thing that I would say is to still keep life as normal as possible. My husband and I love eating out. And my husband and I only went to the movies. That was our form of entertainment. We're not clubbers, we're not drinkers, but we went to the movies and we went and ate out. Well, guess what? We still eat out, but we order it and they bring it to us. And we either sit in the car, at the park, we bring it home. And then when it comes to movies, I've never known anything about these streaming devices, but guess what? For the Valentine's Day, we sat in our bed, he popped popcorn, and we pulled up a movie that is at the theater right now because we have now purchased these things to do that. I understand that you can even use Netflix and have a Netflix party. And so everybody can be at their own home and y'all can be watching the same movie and looking at the screen and interacting as if you're all there together. So I still think this is where all this genius that we have inside of us, all this ingenuity, it's time to bring it out. Figure out ways. We do drive-bys, we do parades. But I think that especially as parents of teenagers who really may be in the thick of it and struggling, we have got to calm down, right? Yeah, I said it. I want you to stay in the house. But a parent contacted me and wanted an antidepressant for her child because the child just needed some social interaction. I was like, can y'all at least pass by a friend's house? They ordered their groceries in and they only left out twice right around the neighborhood. And I had to tell that mama, I was like, you're going to have to loosen up a little bit, right? Some people have developed bubbles where they quarantine bubbles. You know, if that works for you and you are around other families that respect COVID the way that you got to do what you got to do. I mean, and there are no hard and fast rules, just like there aren't with parenting in general. And so we've got to do what makes sense for our mental health while keeping our physical selves well as well.
All right. I just want to pause. We've had more people join and a couple of comments. So thank you, Patricia, for your comment. I think we need to teach resiliency to everyone as we live through the pandemic. So well said. And I want to say thank you for joining Laura Fields and Kimberly Marcus and Yolanda Thomas. I even have a high school classmate who's joined, and she shared a personal story which says, yes, and this is Jonice Mitchell, thank you. She says, yes, this definitely affected my daughter mentally. She was just recovering from isolation due to her bone marrow transplant before the pandemic. This is definitely a worthy discussion. So thank you. And thank you for your comment, Jonice. And thank you for sharing that. That was very personal. So ladies, I can't thank you enough for the pearls of wisdom that you're sharing today. And so for people, you are mental health professionals, but I don't know if our audience knows, what gems you are, what rare jewels you are, because you are, it's like, at least from my perspective, I feel like it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. If you're looking for let me just start with looking for a mental health professional. I feel like it can be tough for some people. And then if people are particular about looking for either female or one that is culturally similar to you, then that can be rather difficult. So just looking at the stats of even just Black women, we're only 2% of active physicians. So, I can imagine the numbers for just Black psychiatrists or Black psychologists. So what's your advice if a parent is looking for a mental health professional for their child. It doesn't matter. Let's just start with in general. It doesn't matter what race or what sex or what gender, I should say. How do they go about that, even if they have no preference? How do they start, or even for themselves?
Yeah, I was going to say, as a mental health professional, when you're dealing with kids, everybody is clinically trained to provide services, but when you're dealing with kids, you gotta find the person that specializes in kids, because that population, it's critical that they get the right type of care that they need. Yeah, you can go out and find a therapist, but do they, specialize in children? And that's key, because we're talking about culturally competent, and as it relates to specialization, yes, they can provide the service, but do they specialize in that population? It's like I said, especially when we're dealing with children, and you can speak more to it as well, about the importance of the specialization. That's my personal take on when you're searching for a provider. Yes, you can search in your provider network, because of course we want to have the least amount of out of pocket. If they're out of network, we certainly don't want to search within that space, but also looking at the specialization of the clinician is very important. And then after you look at specialization, you also talked about culturally competent physicians, consultants as well.
Dr. Brandy, what's your advice as we start to look, whether it's children or adult? What do you suggest?
Well, like you mentioned, Dr. Terrell, there are just not enough mental health professionals to go around, unfortunately. And that's whether you're looking for adult or children professionals. I would say start with your insurance carrier. They are going, because the truth of the matter is that you need to be able to afford it. So that's a good place to start. If you have a colleague or a friend or a mom friend who knows of someone, then you may want to try them out. But like I said, your insurance card, just go there and see who's listed. Go to their website. You can learn a lot from their website. If they are live, like I am and Dr. Yes is, um, go check them out and listen. I've got quite a few people that say, "Hey, I just like your personality on your lives. Are you taking new patients?" But it really is going to come down to how the person makes you feel. I think in no other area of health and wellness does it matter probably as much as with us. A surgeon can be super good in the OR, and doesn't give you warm butterflies, but you may think, hey, they just fixed my knee and I'm okay with that. But you're not going to be inclined to open up and tell someone all of the deep secrets that you need help sorting through. I mean, I've had people tell me they liked me, but they just didn't like my voice. And I said, well, it's not going to be anything I can do with that, but I understand it's quite unique. And so we parted ways, and I directed him to someone that didn't sound like me. Um, so we just, but I think your insurance is a good place to start. Word of mouth is so important. And then honestly, I even give people recommendations like, hey, it looks like it's not working out between the two of us. Why don't you try this person right here? But it's very difficult to find someone. So those are some good places to start. And also, I will throw this in, Dr. Terrell. Be somewhat aware of what you're looking for. If you are adamantly against medications, you do not need to come and see someone like me. I'm a medical doctor, and so primarily what I do is prescribe medications. Um, it's just a little bit, we get to the end of a conversation and you're like, medicine? I don't want that. Well, okay, it would have been nice if we had known that at the outset. So if you know that you just are looking for therapy, then you may want to, find a psychologist like Dr. Yaz, or um, a therapist, counselor, someone. But generally, a psychiatrist, right, is going to treat you with medication. And so if that's not what you're looking for, just keep looking for someone who can give you what you need.
I think that's so important. I'm so glad that you are making that delineation between a psychiatrist and a psychologist, because I think that a lot of people get that confused. And there are some psychiatrists that will do a combination of both therapy, but know that they are trained as an MD, and but their primary job is to do diagnosis and treatment. And some diagnoses may not need treatment, as I understand. But if it's a diagnosis that does not need treatment, they're going to pass you over to somebody like Dr. Yaz.
Exactly.
Instead of
I'll see anyone, but
right.
And I do therapy as a part of the conversation. If something comes up, I'm going to stop. I may need to do it with mama in the middle of session. But I just want people to know that when it comes to medication, psychologists get the gist. Psychologists get the gist of medications, but psychiatrists can treat with medications. And that's an important difference. And if you're looking exclusively for diagnosis, Dr. Yaz is going to be the one that can do your testing, and that is gold standard. That means that if she says you have it because she's done the testing to say so.
That's great. Do you have anything to add, Dr. Yaz, to that? Awesome.
I think we covered that pretty good.
I love the way, I've never actually heard it described like that. Gist and tryst. That's going to help me remember to
you take 3 boards for a total of 5 exams, you know all the memory aids, all of it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So I want to say hello to Dr. Rita Claxton. She's joined us. And Aisha Bassengill, she's joined us. Thank you so much for joining us. And another baseball mom, Shantae Calloway. So thank you all. We know that you all are busy. We appreciate you joining us. And please, if you have questions or even just comments, just feel free to chime in. And we also have Diane Rudolph. So thank you. So I won't keep you all very long. This has been an awesome discussion. I will say I had the information for NAMI and the helpline. I will let you guys give it, but what I will do, it for some reason it didn't save, and it's probably I will take responsibility for that. But what I will do is make a flyer for some of the resources, but I'll let you share the resources verbally. And what I'll do is I will post a flyer on my story and on my website and broadcast it to the same platforms that I use. So for those who are seeking help and may not want to contact you directly or may need help in a crisis, what resources should they use? And I'll start with you, Dr. Yaz, since you were quiet on the last question.
Okay. So last week doing a live that I was invited to, one of the things that I touched on that's really prominent right now during the pandemic, because with quarantine, you're seeing a lot of mood disorders like depression and things like that, unfortunately. One of the things that we're seeing is self-harming behavior sometimes. So there's actually a crisis text line because, our teens, and tweens love to text. And there's actually a crisis text line, 741-741, and that's where they can text with someone, if they're engaging in self-harming behavior. I wanted to highlight locally for the state of Maryland, particularly for PG County, where we live, most of us live. They have a mobile crisis team. And that is so important because when you're talking about a mobile crisis team, that is individuals that have been set aside that are trained, to work along with local. I'm sorry, guys. One of my kids' iPads is just going off over here. Of course, when I get ready to talk, it would go off. But anyhow, that's the life of a mom. But with the crisis center, you have individuals that are trained to intervene during mental health crisis situations. And Dr. Terrellin will actually post the number that you can call for the crisis team. Also, you have the DC Department of Behavioral Health Services Community Response Team, and that's for adults, and they're available like from 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. Where if an adult is having a crisis, a mental health crisis, they are there to intervene as well. Now, one that I would like to highlight, another unfortunate, is right now during the pandemic, domestic violence numbers are certainly increasing. And honestly, a lot of my clients right now are reaching out for relationship coaching because there's a lot of conflict because we're quarantined in the home. When normally you can just leave, get away, but right now we're in a situation where we're really having to face one another, and it's causing conflict in the home. And unfortunately, domestic violence numbers are rising. So there's actually a domestic violence hotline that's available as well. And then the last two things that I would like to highlight is two apps that are out there, and they're free through your cell phone carriers. And one of them is Dalio Journal, which is Daylio. And basically, it's just an electronic way of kind of keeping up with your mood. We got kids that are techies. They don't, I'm old school. I like to write it down and then I type it, but they go straight to the electronics. So that may be good for them. And then also there's a game called Happify. It's Happify, and it's supposed to improve mood. And that's something that was developed by a psychologist. So it's supposed to be a game that's supposed to improve mood. So those are my highlights as it relates to the resources for mental health.
Okay, so I got most of the numbers. My original banner disappeared, but I got most of them, and the ones that I didn't get, I will post afterwards. But I think I got the suicide prevention line, the domestic violence line for Maryland, and I got NAMI's, the National Alliance for Mental Illness. I got that crisis line there. So some very important numbers. I got the national numbers in, one for Maryland, and I will post the other numbers that you mentioned. And I'm not sure if I'm missing anything. From your standpoint, Dr. Brandy?
The only thing that I would add, and it's not a line necessarily, but the the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, which is AACAP.org, I believe, is a place that you can go. And there's several things if you're a reader and you just want to read up on, is this depression? Is this anxiety? Is this ADHD? The American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry is a place to go and get brochures on just about everything. But the numbers, I think Dr. Yass did an amazing job with that. And I even learned something. I wrote those apps down myself. So.
Okay. All right. Well, as we wrap up, ladies, I am so, I don't know, I'm as my grandmother would say, I'm so filled. I'm so filled up. But I'm very thankful to know you. I'm thankful for the information that you've provided to not just me, but to all of our viewers. I know that plenty of people will find this helpful. And if you have not already done it, please like and share this, because there are so many people who will need it. And even if you just, if you missed part of it, please go back and watch it. They have given some very, very helpful information. And Dr. Brandy B, for those people who want to find you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook and all social media platforms at Dr. Brandy B, DrBrandib. I am on Facebook Live, just like Dr. Terrellin's show, but I am every Friday at noon Central Standard Time. We have a good time, very interactive, high energy, And we are delivering all of the good, just down home Southern style, a lot of y'alls and all of that good Southern sweet tea drinking every Friday at 12 noon. So we do hope that you can follow me over at Dr. Brandy B and stop by and say that you saw me at Dr. Terrell's show. Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Terrell.
Okay, no problem. Got that one. And so, Dr. Yaz, where can we find you?
Certainly my preferred contact for coaching services is Psychology Today. That's where most of my clients reach out. You can find me on Psychology Today at Dr. Yasmin, Dr. Yasmin Bradshaw if you do a search. Facebook is Dr. Yaz Bradshaw. I'm on there. I'm very impromptu. Right now my motto is just letting everybody know during this pandemic, it's okay to say you're not okay. Like last week, I did a section on, I think it was suffering in silence was the topic. That I talked about how people are crying in the shower and then you come out like everything's okay. So, just having a safe place for people to say, I'm really not okay. And then lastly, on Instagram, I am Dr._Yaz is where you can find me on Instagram. I am not where these ladies are yet with my actual day each week that I go live, but it is coming because it has been requested of me from some of the people that have seen some of my videos. I don't try to be prim and proper. I'm just a Southern belle who is down to earth. Just happen to be a little bit educated, but I like to relate to the people in my true self and who I am.
Hey, Dr. Terrell and I a year ago were not doing it every week either. So there's always a time to start.
That's right.
And I'll be looking forward to it.
That's right. That's right. We're just doing it. We're just trying to serve our people and just serve our clients and anyone who will listen. We just want to get the information out. And we know, just like you have information to share. So when we're glad that you've joined us. So it's been great. I didn't get your IG, Dr. Yaz. So, but I did search Dr. Yasmin Bradshaw, and I assume that once they search your name, then your contact information is on the Psychology Today page. Is that correct?
That's correct. They could just search my name, Dr. Yasmin Bradshaw, and I will come up.
And just to repeat, Dr. Brandy B, Dr. Brandy B, I enjoy Focus on the Fridays because you just never know what that conversation is going to turn into. So
ago we talked about it was heart health. It was Go Red Friday, and we were talking about the relation between heart health and mental health. And we're talking about depression, and somebody typed in that she was having these thoughts of wanting God to take her. We stopped right in the middle of session live, and I prayed. I was like, hey, because I've got some training and some education, but I still know Jesus. And you can do both of those things, people. You can have a therapist and Jesus at the same time, and it's all right. Never know what you might get over there and Focus on It Friday. We're just having a good time.
There's actually a T-shirt that says that.
Yes.
You can have Jesus.
Listen, I was talking about it's okay one day, so my husband made up it's okay mugs and T-shirts, and I started selling them. So that is really, you mentioned that, Dr. Yaz, it is really okay. Whatever it is, it's okay. It really is.
Awesome, ladies. Well, thank you so much. Any final words before we sign off, Dr. Yaz?
I just want to highlight, to any of our participants tonight that we are resilient people. We are in the middle of a pandemic, but there are tools that are inside of us. There's a level of creativity that has come out of the pandemic. Sometimes I know we have to be realist and accept, what the pandemic is, but also let's look at the positive of it. A lot of us had skills that we didn't know we had until the pandemic came about. A lot of jobs didn't know that they could function the way that they have until we had the pandemic. So, yes, there are some families that are experiencing, conflict problems and relationship problems there, but there's also some families that have moved closer together as a result of the pandemic. So that just know that we are resilient people, and we will get through this with, talks like tonight to say it's okay to not be okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Brandy, any closing words?
Thanks to all of our guests, and I see my mom, Diane Rudolph, showed up, so I'm appreciative
Ah,
for her coming all the way from Birmingham. I guess with the two Southerners here tonight. And just thank you for everybody. Just take care of yourselves, and that is more than your blood pressure. If you're not feeling well, it's okay, but please reach out and let someone know so that they can check on you. And we're gonna make it through it, as Dr. Yaz said.
thank you so much to all of our viewers. So, and just before you go, for all of those who are interested in any coaching with me, you can find me at Dr. Terrellin on all social media platforms. You can also email me at info@Dr. Terrellin. That's DrTerralon. And I also have free tips at medicalcareerpivot.com. So it's been a great show, a great, awesome show. And I can't thank my guests enough. And let me highlight this comment from your mom. Thanks for coming, Mom Rudolph. Thanks so much. So thank you to all of my guests. And I look forward to having you again really soon. So thank you and good night.
Good night, Carolyn. I want to thank my cousin Tanya for signing on tonight. I just saw her name come up. Thank you, cousin
What's her name?
Davis. She's
Hi,
in
cousin
Atlanta. So thank you, cousin, for joining us tonight.
Hi, cousin Sonia.
It's been a lot of fun. So thank you for having us. I'm happy to come back at any time.
All right. And thank you to all of our guests. Hi, Danielle. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.